My name is Emma. I am 40 years old. I have 2 wonderful children. My husband, David, is 45 years old. We have been married for 18 years. Those words meant everything to me. Life wasn't perfect, but I was happy. David worked long hours, and I stayed home to raise our children. I cooked, cleaned, helped with homework, and tried to make our house feel warm and peaceful. For many years, everything seemed normal. Then, little by little, David began to change. He started coming home late almost every night. Sometimes he said he had business meetings. Sometimes he said he had to travel. Whenever I asked questions, he became impatient. Whenever I asked questions, he became impatient. "Stop worrying," he would say. "I'm working for this family." I wanted to trust him, so I stayed quiet. Months passed, and the distance between us grew larger. We still lived in the same house, but we hardly talked anymore. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped noticing the little things. Sometimes he didn't even look at me during dinner. I felt invisible. One afternoon, while putting his clothes into a suitcase, I found 2 airline tickets inside a folder. One ticket had David's name. The other belonged to a woman named Rachel. My hands started shaking. I stared at the tickets again and again. I wanted to believe there was a simple explanation. But deep inside, I already knew the truth. When David returned home, I showed him the tickets. "Who is Rachel?" I asked quietly. He looked at me for a moment before answering. "She's just a coworker." "It was a business trip." "You're making a big deal out of nothing." His calm voice didn't comfort me. Something inside my heart broke that day. Still, I didn't argue. Our children were still young. I didn't want them to see their parents fighting. So I kept my pain to myself. Years went by, but nothing changed. David continued coming home late. He spent more time looking at his phone than talking to me. He smiled at messages that I never saw. Sometimes he left the room to answer calls. Every day I felt more alone. Our house was full of people, but my heart felt empty. "Emma?" I turned around. It was Daniel, an old friend from college. We hadn't seen each other for many years. He smiled warmly. "It's been a long time," he said. We talked for a few minutes about work, family, and old memories. Before leaving, he looked at me and asked, "Are you really happy?" His question surprised me. No one had asked me that in years. I forced a smile. "I'm fine." But he looked at my face and gently said, "You don't have to pretend." Those simple words stayed with me all day. A week later, we met again at a small cafe. We talked about life. Daniel listened without judging me. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to solve my problems. He simply listened. For the first time in a long time, I felt like someone actually cared about how I felt. Over the next few months, we met several times. Sometimes we had coffee. Sometimes we walked through the park. We laughed about old memories. Slowly, I started smiling again. I wasn't looking for another relationship. I wasn't trying to hurt my husband. I only wanted someone to treat me with kindness. Someone who noticed that I existed. One evening, David picked up my phone by mistake. A message from Daniel appeared on the screen. It said, "I hope you're doing better today." David's face changed immediately. "Who is Daniel?" he asked. I took a deep breath. An old friend. He became angry. "You've been meeting another man?" I looked into his eyes. Then, for the first time in years, I spoke honestly. I was lonely. I needed someone to listen to me. I needed kindness. David remained silent. A few moments later, he quietly asked, "Are you leaving me?" I didn't know the answer. I only knew one thing. For years, I had been fighting for a marriage that only one person seemed to care about. David's question stayed in my mind. "Are you leaving me?" I looked at him for a long moment before answering. "I don't know. I don't even know if you still love me." He lowered his head. For the first time in many years, he had no excuse. He didn't blame his work. He didn't become angry. He simply stayed quiet. That night, neither of us slept well. The next morning, I looked at my children while they were eating breakfast. Noah was talking about his soccer practice. Sophie was excited about her music class. They smiled and laughed without knowing how broken their parents felt inside. Watching them made me realize something. I couldn't keep living like this forever. A few days later, I met Daniel one last time. We sat on a bench in a quiet park. "I need to tell you something," I said. He smiled kindly. "I already know. You've decided to save your family." I nodded. "I have to try. I don't know what will happen, but I need to find my answer at home." Daniel respected my decision. "I'm glad we met again," he said. "But your happiness should never depend on me. You are stronger than you think." I smiled through my tears. "Thank you for reminding me that I matter." We stood up. We wished each other the best. Then we walked away. That was the last time I ever saw Daniel. When I returned home, David was waiting for me. He looked nervous. "I need to tell you the truth," he said. I sat down without saying a word. He took a deep breath. Rachel was more than a coworker. I lied to you. I made terrible choices. I thought I could hide everything forever. His voice became weak. But when I saw Daniel's message, I realized how much pain I had caused you. I finally understood what it felt like to lose someone. Tears filled his eyes. I'm sorry, Emma. I don't expect you to forgive me today. His words hurt me. I looked at him quietly. Can you end everything with Rachel? Without waiting even a second, he answered. Yes. I already ended it. I never want to lose my family. Trust does not return in one day. It returns through actions. He came home on time. He put his phone away during dinner. He helped Noah with homework. He attended Sophie's school concert. Sometimes he cooked breakfast. Sometimes we went for evening walks together. We talked again. Not about big dreams, but about simple things. The children. Our future. Our mistakes. Little by little, our home felt peaceful again. One evening, Noah asked, Mom, Dad, are you both happy now? Noah smiled. His words touched both of our hearts. That night, David handed me a small letter. I wrote this for you. I opened it slowly. It said, I spent years believing that providing money was enough. But I forgot that a family also needs love, respect, honesty, and time. Thank you for giving me one more chance. I promise to earn your trust every day. I folded the letter carefully. I can't forget everything, I said. I know, David replied. I'll never ask you to. I only ask for the chance to prove I've changed. Months later, life was still not perfect. Some days were difficult. Some memories still hurt. But we no longer ignored our problems. We faced them together. I also learned something important. I started reading books. I took morning walks. I spent more time caring for myself instead of only caring for everyone else. One day, I wrote these words in my journal. Real love is not only saying I love you. Real love is listening. It is respecting. It is being present. And before loving someone else, you must also learn to value yourself. Our marriage isn't perfect. Maybe no marriage is. But we are honest with each other. We communicate. We forgive. Looking back, I don't feel proud of every decision I made. Neither does David. But our mistakes taught us an important lesson. Love cannot survive without trust. and trust cannot survive without honesty. If my story can help someone, I hope it reminds you of this. Never ignore the person who stands beside you every day. Kind words, respect, and time are worth more than expensive gifts. Sometimes, all a person needs. Thank you for listening to my story.